Hello, everyone. I'm Will, and I'm going to walk through the pricing strategy that is used by Valve Corporation. They are known for the Steam gaming platform and games like Counter Strike 2 or Half Life. They also have a hardware section where they deal with handheld gaming consoles and virtual reality and things. Um, I'll be explaining their price strategy and how it's changed over time, how it compares to major competitors, and what factors influence their ability to price competitively within their market. Valve, they primarily use a value-based pricing structure, and this means that their price the way they price their products is based on the perceived value by the customers rather than the cost of production. So a game costs $60. You don't really $60 if you price it on the production side. That's a lot of work with a lot of hands that go into a video game. So $60 seems kind of low normally, but Valve, they rely heavily on the strength of their brand and the loyalty of their fan base. And sometimes their games do get above that $60 price point, which people will pay because the quality justifies their pricing. Valve's products are good, but they also, what they do is they use penetration pricing with hardware like the Steam Deck, because if you take a look at other handheld gaming consoles, they are normally around the $1,000 range, where um, the Steam Deck is actually around the $500 range. And they're able to cut that price so much because it gets people to use their platform solely and to buy games off of their platform. And the real profit, it doesn't come from that hardware, but the players buying games and add-ons through the Steam platform. Now, finally, Valve uses a psychological and promotional pricing structure as well, especially through their famous Steam sales. In the summertime, they will have a like 50% off sale, and around Black Friday they have big sales, and they even have multiple sales in seasons. Like, they have a winter sale that dramatically reduces prices and creates an expectation that games will eventually be able at a deep discount. So people will constantly come back to them to buy games later on if they don't want to purchase them now. So they end up buying games that they might not even buy in the first place because they are discounted. Now, Valve's pricing has definitely evolved. In the early 2000s, Valve and a lot of publishers like them priced games in a traditional fixed manner. But over time, digital distribution allowed Valve to experiment with the pricing. That's why we see these sales. And the prices, they are a lot more dynamic now. They will also use this regional flexible pricing, and it's there's publisher controlled discounts with bundles. They'll put a lot of games together, and there's constant promotional cycles based off that. And that shift was driven by lower costs from digital distribution, and competing with other platforms like the Epic Game Store and the Xbox Game Pass. you know and these sales that they have, it has shaped the expectations that the consumer has developed over the years. Now, their hardware pricing, that's changed as well. um, Earlier attempts at consumer hardware like the Valve controller or Steam machines, they were priced too high and they failed. And Valve, they learned from that, and you see that with the Steam Deck pricing. They put it at an attractive price so people will actually buy it. You know, when it comes to their pricing structure now, though, and I don't know if they should change their pricing strategy because it seems to be working well. So I think the answer is mostly no. Their approach is extremely effective. And the combination of value driven pricing with strategic discounts and sales and the ecosystem that they have built with their player base, which is their customer base, has kept Valve at the top of the PC gaming market. There are not other Blizzard, Epic, Xbox. They have all created their own platforms, but they do nowhere near as well as Valve. Valve is the top player. So what I want to do next is I want to compare their pricing strategy with competitors because we see clear differences. Epic Game Store, they take a very aggressive approach, and they often give away free games, and they only take like 12% cut from developers instead of Steam's 30%. But that what happens is Epic, they kind of undercut Valve significantly. But Steam, they maintain dominance because they have the user base. They are defined. They are a household name. And the platform's ecosystem has been created in such a way that people don't want to go away from it because they're used to it. We see that a lot with stuff like the iPhone. People get used to that and they don't want to go away from that. And then if we want to get into the handheld aspect, you can look at Nintendo, especially with the Switch. They use a much different strategy. Their hardware is priced to be profitable, and they never discount their games. You are always paying top dollar for a Nintendo game, no matter what. If that game's been out for 20 years, you're paying $60, $70, period. It goes up. It never goes down for Nintendo. And then Sony, with their PlayStation, it follows a traditional, AAA pricing with a standard game price of $70, and they don't have sales that often. Steam, their pricing is more flexible, as I explained, and that makes them more competitive and more accessible to budget gamers. There's this whole sect of gamers that wait years to play a game so they can get it for $5 to $10. A game that originally was $70, they wait an exorbitant amount of time so they can get the game for next to nothing. So that Valve drags that type of person in as well, and across the board they tend to be more aggressive in offering a value to the customer that these competitors often do not. And there's several behind the scene factors that affect Valve's choices. First, it is digital infrastructure costs because they are significant. Valve, they maintain a massive network of servers and cloud storage systems and content delivery networks that, on top of all that, they also do customer support. These expenses, they influence how much they need to learn or earn through their sales and commissions. And then they also have the labor costs because staffing those positions takes manpower. And Valve, they're known for hiring extremely talented individuals. They do not cut corners with hiring people. And they have no shortage of applicants because everybody wants to work there. Then we have the cost of the hardware production. That influences pricing decisions for devices like the Steam Deck. And they have a new Steam machine coming out. We don't actually know the price of that yet, but it's creating a lot of buzz. But when it comes to that, you have component shortages and shipping costs and manufacturing limitations that all affect how low Valve can completely go. And then something else that they have on their side is their publisher relationships. People want to push their games into Steam because it is such a huge market for them to be working out of. So they take that hit on that 30%, and because what they make on the back end is so much more. Now, this pricing strategy, it shows the target audience of Valve is clearly value focused, and they're highly engaged in PC gaming. And these are players who want a lot of power for the least amount of money as possible. They are trying to find a bargain, and they want flexibility and to be able to shop in a strategic manner. As I talked about, the people who wait 5-10 years for a game to get it at the lowest cost possible. And if you can get the hardware at the same price like the Steam Deck, the aggressive sales and the freedom of the Steam ecosystem, it shows that Valve has this aim for a broad audience rather than this high-end luxury niche that you see with Nintendo. Their pricing strategy is designed to build a loyalty between them and their customer and long-term engagement with their platform. So, in summary, I want to say Valve, they use a combination of value-based pricing and penetration pricing for their hardware and a psychological promotional pricing through their sales, which is a big part of their structure. Sales are synonymous with Steam, which is synonymous with Valve. They're more flexible and consumer friendly than competitors like Epic and Nintendo and Sony. And there's a wide range of factors such as their infrastructure and cost of labor and hardware production that influence their ability to price competitively. So overall, their pricing structure and strategy clearly targets value-minded gamers, and these gamers, they want a strong performance with flexibility, and just they want control, and Valve gives them that control. Thank you for listening.